do I begin? We have a perfect storm forming with Speed Racer. That's how I like to put it. On May 2nd, Nicktoons premieres Speed Racer The Next Generation, which is a brand new animated series, 26 episodes. That's coming out May 2nd, which I think is a Friday. On May 6th, the DVD of that movie that they're playing on Nicktoons is being released by Lionsgate. And on May 9th, the movie opens, the live-action movie opens. And so all these events are converging all at one time for the brand. And of course, we have our licensees here, like Digital Manga, and they've just come out with the first 2 volumes of the original comic book that started Speed Racer back in 1967. Tatsuo Yoshida is the Japanese gentleman that created Speed Racer back in 1966. And he wrote a comic book. Actually, he did like 2 of them, and that's what you're looking at right here. And from that, about a year later, they Tatsunoko Productions is the name of the company in Japan. About a year later, they made a cartoon based on the comic book, and it was their first. Another thing that people don't know too much, it's the first colorized animated series that the studio did back then. Speed Racer is basically a family story. It's a story of a teenage driver with the super hottest, coolest car in the world. And it's a story about his mother and his father and his little brother and the pet chimp, and his older brother, who happens to run away from home and become Racer X. He's secretly Speed Racer's brother. And it's a story about, it's not only a story about racing. It's a story about family relationships and boyfriend-girlfriend relationships. Centered around the world of high-octane racing all around the world. And the races take place around the globe, so it's not like cars going around in a circle, which added to its allure back then. Well, I watched it every day when I came home from school, about 3 o'clock. California was on channel 52. I used to watch it on my little black and white TV. I always thought it wasn't black and white, stupid me. I'm watching on a black and white TV. Yeah, but every day after school, I watched it religiously, and 40 million other people did too. And that's led to the resurgence today. My father has had a long-term business relationship and personal relationship with the Japanese people that the studio responsible for Speed Racer. And back in the early 90s, he was consulting with them and smelled an opportunity, because nobody had ever done anything with Speed Racer merchandising-wise. When it was on the air back in the 60s and 70s, there was no t-shirts, toys, books, there was nothing. It was just on the air. And my dad, he worked for Mattel for a while, he worked for Western Publishing as a licensee, a manufacturer, and he wanted to go on the other side of the fence and be a licensor, and he made a deal with the Japanese guys. And back in '91, he called me up, asked me if I wanted to do the licensing for Speed Racer. I said, I'll be right over. I quit my job and I went to work. July 1991. It's like a continuing dream right now. I mean, everything's happening all at once, and it's sinking in, but just one day at a time. I'm expecting some very good things. I think the movie's going to be great. I know our new series is going to be great, the new animated series. And the classic Speed Racer is the classic Speed Racer. It's not going anywhere. It'll be around for another 40 years, another 100 years. It'll be around when I'm gone.